Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 115. I'm your host, Justin and joined by my co-host, the only person on this podcast who doesn't have an Xbox Series X, Montrell Rice.
Yeah, you bastard. You're lucky I'm like in
You're,
the middle of moving right now because I'll
you're
definitely
damn
buy
right. You're damn right. It happened, everybody. It happened. I got my Xbox Series X. I haven't set it up yet. I got it yesterday. Target had a drop in the morning. I woke up early. Crack of dawn. I was ready to go, and I barely got it. I got it like right at the end when they were all because dude, what a shit show this is. I just want to reiterate that this whole thing with these consoles is a total fucking shit show. Because I was online for an hour and a half before they dropped. Because Target does it in staggered. They did the PS5 disc version first, then they dropped the digital version, then they dropped the Xbox Series X after that.
Okay.
And I refreshed the page within about 15 seconds of it going live, like the Xbox Series X, and I had it in my cart immediately. But their system was so overloaded that hitting pay, like trying to pay for the console, didn't work. It errored out every single time. So spam clicking it. Dude, I was there for 10 minutes with two different tabs open at two different stores, alternating between them, spam clicking pay, and finally one of them just went through 10 minutes later, and I looked at the stock right afterwards and they were almost all gone at that point. So bro, I got super lucky. The gods smiled upon me, the video game gods, the retail gods, whatever you want to call them. They smiled upon me yesterday, and I picked up my Xbox. It's sitting behind me. It is in the box right now. I haven't set it up yet. I'm going to do it this weekend. But I am excited. I was looking through Game Pass's library yesterday, and I was very impressed with what I saw. I'm really jazzed to get started with this thing. So yeah, I'll have my opinions on Xbox will be backed up by actual experience soon.
Okay.
Like relevant current experience with their current console. So that's a big reason why I got it. But I also just want to diversify my portfolio a little bit with gaming. I am getting a little tired of Sony, just a little bit, just a tiny bit, and I want to see what Xbox got going on in their side of the garden. So yeah, so that's exciting. Montreal, you didn't get one today. I know Walmart supposedly was supposed to have a drop, but I didn't really look.
No, I'm gonna try Friday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I'm just gonna use my credit card. I haven't used it in years, so I'm
Best Buy is supposed to be having a drop tomorrow. And it's been, by the way, it's been about 6 weeks since we've had actual stock of the Xbox Series X anywhere. There were a couple minor drops randomly in a couple places since I started looking for this thing, but basically there's been no stock of this thing for a while, and I think places were building up stock over the last 6 weeks, and this was the week where they all kind of just decided to sell them. So there were multiple opportunities, or there have been multiple opportunities, and I just fortunately got one. So thank God. I'm very happy about that. Stoked, in fact. I also, by the way, I don't have it next to me, but it's over on the table. I need to set this up too. I got a PS5 charging base for my controller, dude. Those have been impossible to fucking find too. And I got one at GameStop a couple weeks ago, and it finally showed up. So that's exciting as well. So I'm accessorized. I got all my consoles. I'm like gaming. I'm just feeling it right now. I'm really excited about gaming right at this exact moment. So it's a good time. Montreal, yeah. I hope you get your Xbox. I do.
I'm still dead in the water. Because I actually want to get me a PC before I get my Xbox. I want to get me a new PC. And right now the only possible way to get a PC is to get a pre-built one with the card in it. Because they even dropped I was watching YouTube videos on graphics cards and stuff like that, and Nvidia came out and said hey, we're going to have issues, or the people that make the semiconductors and everything like that said they're going to have issues well into 2022. So there's still going to be some there's still going to be supply constraints all the way until 2022 June. So that's and semiconductors is for everything, from Xboxes to PlayStation to everything. So
it's going to affect all electronics.
So the government is trying to pass legislation to kind of limit car manufacturers to hey, we don't need all this bullshit in the car. They're trying to limit other stuff. Yeah. But I don't know how that far that's going to go. But I know the Biden administration was, for all the shit they've done, bad shit they've done this fucking couple of months, This is one good thing. They're investigating, so we need to know what's going on. And a
Mhm.
lot of people are Nvidia had the nerve to release a it wasn't a TI version of the 3080. It was
There
another
might be
version.
one though. There's rumors of it right
Yeah, they
now.
have the nerve to like even like hint at that right now, and people are fucking pissed because you can't even get the regular 3080s right
I know.
now.
I
So
know. Well, yeah, because that's the thing, right? Is every one of these new products they come out with means that there's less of these semiconductors going to these other ones, the ones that like because the TI is going to cost more than the regular 3080, and that some people don't want that, they just want a 3080, like that's what they want. So, I mean, I tried to get one back when it came out, and I gave up quickly within a couple weeks. I was like, "Fuck this shit. This is not worth the effort." For a graphics card. So, and to be frank with you, I don't think it's worth the effort for the new consoles either. It took a. I've been monitoring this for 6 weeks now, and it's just like it's such a depressing like soul sucking activity because the chances of you getting it are really low actually, even if you're prepared and ready. Because when you're not prepared and ready and these things drop randomly, good luck, dude. You better be looking at your computer the second they drop because no one's going to tell you they're dropping. Like there are these Twitter pages you can follow. Matt Swider and Wario64 is another good one that they have alerts set up for when stock drops. But dude, if you're not looking at your phone or paying attention to Twitter alerts when that happens, you're shit out of luck. So what happened this week is that guy Matt Swider actually I think he writes for Tech Radar, but he's basically he's got a lot of inside sources with a lot of these retailers, and he basically called out all the drops that were going to happen this week and what time they were going to happen because the target drop he said 6:40 Eastern time or sorry, 6:40 Central Time, AM was when they were going to start dropping consoles on Wednesday, and that's exactly what happened. Within about 5 minutes of that, they dropped the PS5 at that point, and then the rest of them followed. So,
yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
just
he's got good information. So if you're looking for a console, he's a good source to follow for sure. Um, and yeah, he
yeah.
does
I just
alerts
think
when they drop.
they need to do something about these bots because it's not the
I
supply.
know,
I think it's just the bots and the
I know.
scalpers. Like
Yeah,
I don't know if you can make that illegal, but like that would be a whole nother slippery slope. But it's like at this point, bro, we can't even get anything.
I know.
Like
Yeah,
even
Target.
like
Sorry, go.
I'm sorry, like yeah, even like because I'm still into guns and stuff like that. I can't even buy a fucking AK pistol right now because
Yeah.
fucking bots. Like I follow this guy called Gun Runner or whatever on
Hmm.
Twitter, and he posts. I have alerts set up for him when he posts stuff, and literally like 1 minute after he posted them, because whatever I'm doing, I'm like working or something like that. He posted, and like for the AK pistols, they'll come out, and then bots will immediately grab it because, and then they're literally selling the same pistols that are like from State Armory, Pomelo State Armory on fucking like Gun Broker, which is like a eBay version of fucking for guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're selling on there for like maybe $200 or $300 more, and it's like the gun is already fucking $800. I'm not gonna pay
Hmm.
$1,200 for that shit. So it's
Right.
like these bots are
Yeah.
insane, and I don't even know
Yeah.
how you stop them at this point. I don't remember them being this bad,
No.
but
It's
they just
worse
got
than it's
more.
ever been. I don't think
Yeah,
it's going to get better though, Montreal. I really don't think it is. Because I think this is the future of kind of I almost call them like boutique luxury products, like video game consoles, even guns are kind of a boutique luxury item. You don't need them for anything.
yeah.
Video cards, computer parts, stuff like that. Like, I think I think this is just how it's going to be going forward. Like online is where it is for commerce, and
And it's
um, I,
worse for graphics cards too because of the
yeah,
crypto miners.
yep, I
And
know.
I
Yeah, the
heard,
demand's multifaceted.
yeah, and I heard that Nvidia was supposed to be coming out with some kind of
Hmm.
security break to where they can't use it for crypto mining anymore. But even
Yeah.
when they did that, one of their last cards they did, I think it was with the 370 and 3070 and 3080 and stuff like that.
Hmm.
People broke it, people cracked it, and they were using it for crypto mining. So it's
Yeah.
like Nvidia is trying, and I think AMD is trying as well to stop the crypto miners from like snagging
Hmm.
all their products. Um, I think maybe they should just like lean into the market and actually make graphics cards designed for them. or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do that, but just lean into that
Mhm.
market and market it. These graphics cards are directly for you, and whatever you have to block on the video game graphics cards, do that so that they won't go for those. They'll just go for the crypto miner ones because it's getting ridiculous. Because every day another crypto fucking currency is popping
Yeah,
up.
the,
So
dude. The problem with that is though they couldn't make enough crypto based cards to meet that demand probably because they'd buy up all the crypto cards and then they just go buy the regular ones too. You know, like
yeah,
because there's tons of people who are into that shit. You know, right now and it's a like a burgeoning industry kind of being created. So I don't know. It's an interesting problem. I don't really know how they solve that one either. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if the effort's worth it for the video game consoles. But I will say I do really enjoy the PlayStation 5. I think it's a great piece of hardware, and it's way better than PlayStation 4. And anybody saying otherwise is fucking they don't know what they're talking about. To be frank with you,
yeah,
like the thing is it's just so much better. The quality of life of it is just so much better in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into it, Montreal. This is not a commerce podcast, but this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Also, please send us questions to our email, theplayerstake01 at gmail.com, or at theplayerstake on Twitter. We actually have a few questions that we were asked this past week by a couple individuals. We will be talking about those at the end of the show. That'll be our capper at the end of the show to kind of wind us down. So tune into that. If you like that segment, ask us questions and we will answer them on the show in that segment. And it's something we want to do every week if we can make that happen. So, and we'd love to make that like the end segment of the show. So, audience interactions and stuff like that. So, really appreciate that. So, look forward to that. Montreal, NFL draft is going on right now. The picks are blazing through. They're already on pick 7 right now, man. I'm
I'm
chomping at the
so
bit.
mad we live in Texas right now
I
because
know.
I would be on fucking DraftKings or whatever the fuck
hmm
and fucking winning money because I've guessed everything right and it's fucking annoying the fuck out of me.
Really? I mean,
Yeah,
you can technically play, I think.
you would have to put a VPN on your phone and then put it in another state.
No, I'm telling you, I think this state it's not legal. Like there isn't. It's not as restricted as it was a few couple years ago. Like you
Okay.
can play, I think, but it's a little the ground's a little shaky. Basically, if the site lets you play in Texas, you're okay to play. The onus is on them.
Okay.
That's the way it seems to me. I did some research into this a few months ago because I was interested in getting back into daily a little bit, daily fantasy. I didn't
Yeah.
end up doing it, but I think you're a little bit. I think you're more in the clear than you were a couple years ago.
Okay.
Uh, you missed your chance, Montreal, but for next year, dude, you could take a look at it a little bit more. All right, Montreal, let's get into it. Let's start with what we've been playing. I'll go first this week. Not much has changed. I've been playing the same games for weeks now. Apex Legends, nothing to say there. Really, the new season comes out next week, which is exciting. Looking forward to that for sure. But Neo 2, getting deeper into that with my brother. We are now very close to getting to the second playthrough. We're almost done with the final DLC, and I'm really looking forward, dude. The more I played this game, the deeper it gets. It is fucking nuts how deep the new game plus system in this game is.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple additional playthroughs that unlock new levels, new gear, new like levels of gear and stuff like that. The game's fucking crazy, like how far you can go. The replayability in Neo 2 is absolutely insane. So,
Yeah.
if
It
you're
does
looking
it.
for a game that can suck up time, this is it.
So like it's like a different game after New Game Plus.
Oh, it fucking totally is, dude. So you get to level 150, right? That's the max level for the first playthrough. And then level 160 unlocks for playthrough 2, I think. And the gear goes up to 160. But then you start unlocking, at the end of the first playthrough, you start unlocking plus levels on gear, which basically is like an additional level on the gear. each plus level is equivalent to, quote, like the game says 10 levels. It's equivalent to about 10 levels in terms of stats. So they're very powerful, and the crafting system is catered to, like, you combine two items together. If they're both +1, they'll become the item that you use as a base will become +2
Okay.
basically, and then that continues. So that's how you get the gear higher level. It can also drop at a whatever plus level too. You can get like plus level 3 gear or plus level 4. I haven't seen very much of that yet, but the higher level you get in the game, the higher plus levels the gear drops with. So it's a really complicated system, but it's really deep and rewarding at the same time. It's because your character can get very, very, very powerful in this regard. So I'm really excited to delve into it. I want to go all the way with this game. I want to get I want to get the platinum. I want 100% the DLCs. I want to fucking full complete this game. I want to do multiple playthroughs and really like see what the end game of Neo 2 looks like, cuz I didn't do that with Neo 1. I really only did one playthrough and kind of stopped there.
Okay.
So I want to see how this is in this game, you know. So I'm still having a lot of fun with that. Also, still playing Final Fantasy Tactics on Vita. I'm close to the end of Chapter 2 now. There's 4 chapters in the game. I'm enjoying this a lot as well. This is a really nice filler game when I only have like 30 minutes to an hour and I don't really feel like playing anything else. Grinding or just doing a couple maps. But this game is an absolute classic. Like, it is the gold standard for strategy RPGs in video games. So I know I've said that before. I said that last week, but I gotta reiterate, like, continuing to play this game, like, it's just so fucking fun, dude. Customizing my characters and planning out my job paths and getting certain abilities. And once you unlock some abilities, like, your character's power level just spikes like tremendously, and they become like so effective, at their specific role that you're trying to build them for. It's just so fucking fun, dude. Um, and then we'll talk about Monster Hunter Rise, I think, when you get to your game. So go through what else what you've been playing besides Monster Hunter Rise.
I've been playing League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of stopped playing this actually over the last week because I have just been enjoying the fuck out of Metal Gear
Yeah.
5. That
Uh-huh.
shit is really
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
good.
I
That
saw
game's
that.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like it my first playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I didn't like it is because it was so drastically different. So keep in mind, I didn't play Peace Walker
Yeah.
on the PSP. The only game I did play on the PSP was Portable Ops, which is canon. But I didn't play Peace Walker until the update, the HD versions came out, and that was like years ago. And when I
Yeah.
played Peace Walker, I didn't like it because it was such a it derives so much from, that's the word I'm looking for. It went away so much from the formula of what Metal Gear is. You break into a base, and it's an adventure game with stealth
Yeah.
mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Peace Walker is really the first one, or actually Portable Ops is the first one to break everything up into missions.
Yeah.
And I guess it actually fits the narrative of the story, because the narrative is when you're in Portable Ops, Peace Walker, and Ground Zero, or Metal Gear 5, you're Snake's father,
Mm-hmm.
Big Boss, and Big Boss is building the army. So it makes sense that you have these resources that you collect. You have to do missions. You can send other people out on missions and everything of that nature, because you're actually literally building an army. You can actually play as other people on missions, except for the main story missions. The side ops, you can play as other people and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
In Metal Gear 5, they have a mode where if you play online, other people can invade your fucking your mother base.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got invaded by this
Oh
like
yeah.
high tier guy, and he fucked my base up. But
Yeah.
like, he must have been looking for somebody to fuck with, because this game has been out for like 5-6 years.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
probably no one around anymore playing that game.
yeah,
He's like, oh my god, he's a newbie. Oh,
yeah.
damn it. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so you can do that. You can infiltrate someone's mother base and everything like that. Metal Gear Online is still active as well, which is really surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't play anything but the single player. But yeah, the game is really, as far as like open world, I didn't like it because it was open world. But now,
I need to play this game.
yeah, now that I've grown accustomed to it over the last 5 years, what an open world game is, and whatever the case. Because before, I'll say 4 or 5 years ago, when I played this game, I was not a big open world savant. Like, I hated open world to the degree,
Mm-hmm.
because everything was open world. and Metal Gear unfortunately fell into that slot. But now that I'm like out of that funk and I kind of got used to it, like this is the standard now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the game is really fucking good. Like you can approach missions any way you like, and I really appreciate that about the game. You don't have to go in stealth. You can go in guns blazing. You can call in a fucking attack chopper to blow people up and shit. Like I did this on my first playthrough, but like I said, like I really didn't enjoy it for some reason. But now my second playthrough, I'm just enjoying the fuck out of it. Like I'm experimenting with stuff and everything
Hmm.
of that nature, and it's just a really good, fun game overall.
Yeah. I need to play this game, man. Can you believe though that this game came out September 1st, 2015? That
Wow, that's
it's
6 years ago.
literally been 5.5 years since this
Yeah,
fucking game came out. Can you
I
believe that?
will say, dude, this game loads incredible on at least on the Xbox One Series S or Xbox One uh,
X.
S. I have the S. I don't have the X.
Oh, S. Okay. Wow, that's
It
original. That's
loads
well, not original, but
it loads incredibly fast. Like I'm
that's
talking like
crazy.
10-second load times, bro. It's
Yeah.
fucking incredible. Like I don't know what they did or optimized it over the years, but it's fucking crazy how fast this game loads.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
have it in my stack of shame, dude. It's at the bottom of the pile, and it's been there since September 1st, 2015. I bought this game on launch day, and I played it for about 4 hours, and then I never played it again.
I can
And
understand why. I can understand
dude,
why.
no, because yeah, no, okay. I've seen you talking about this on Twitter a little bit that like you didn't like this game either your first time playing through it because the game's story is just like, and this is the problem I had with MGS5 is the reason like why that 4 hour because the first couple hours is all story, dude. Like the game is just like it throws you into the situation and it's Metal Gear, it's Metal Gear Solid, crazy shit going on, and it's
Yeah.
just as awesome as the other games. But then all of a sudden the rest of the game happens and you're in this like open world situation and like you have the game is mission based and all of a sudden there's really no story anymore. You're just doing these objectives and the game was fun to play, but I'm I'm I've always been into Metal Gear for the story and the gameplay is always a fun part of it, the experience, but I'm primarily there for that. And this game was such a departure from that it was
Yeah.
jarring to the point where I didn't want to play anymore. But I acknowledge that I probably should just fucking play this game because I'm sure it's fun as absolute fuck.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah,
try to
no,
get to
I
that
agree.
for
I
you.
think you should check it out whenever you have free time. Just
Hmm.
I know it's not going to be in the coming years the coming year because we have a lot of shit coming out this year.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
um, I apologize to everybody. We didn't buy Near Replicant yet. I haven't bought it yet.
I
I'm going to
know.
buy it
I'm
when I
such an
move.
Automata
Yeah.
fanboy too. I
Yeah.
look, everybody. The same thing happened with Automata. That's happening with Replicant right now. Is that this game came and went. Both like Automata came and went for me. Like it passed me by, and I bought it at launch. I never opened it, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, I started playing it and was fucking hooked. And Replicant is probably going to be the same way. I'm mired in a bunch of games right now that are really time consuming and I don't want to break away from them yet.
Yeah,
I'm not done with
exactly.
Monster Hunter. I'm not done with Neo. I'm not done with Final Fantasy Tactics. And obviously Apex I'm constantly playing, but there's other games too that I want to play in the short term that
Yeah.
Nier's like, I know I'm going to love it. I fucking know I'm going to love it. I do. I know. It's
I
just,
will say Near's okay, I'm probably gonna get fucking flamed for this. Bottom
yeah,
tier as far as playing, it's a good game. Don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but as far as like playing, I feel like it's bottom tier right now. The game I really want to
yeah,
play that's coming out tomorrow is Returnal. That
yeah.
game looks fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, and the game's getting such rave reviews. I kind of want to pick it up now too, potentially. I don't know if I'm going to get it right away. I don't know if I want to pay 70 for it, but it depends. I need to look into it more and see. But yeah, there's that, and then we've got Mass Effect coming up too.
Yep.
I'm not going to beat Nier before Mass Effect comes out, and I really am planning on dropping everything for Mass Effect. So I'm not kidding, dude. I kind of am. So right now, that's kind of I don't want to pick up something like Nier that I know is not a short game. That's not going to be a short game. That's going to be a big time investment, and I don't want to stop that in the middle. So that game's going to end up waiting till probably summer sometime, more than likely for me. But don't worry, we'll play it. We are going to play it. I absolutely am going to play Nier Replicant, and you will hear my opinions on it. But it's really tight right now. I am surprised by how many games are coming out that I actually want to play. I wasn't expecting this year.
Yeah, me
Um,
too. Yeah.
it's really taken me by surprise, and it's hard. And I got a lot of things going on in my life right now too, on a personal level, that are time consuming, that are kind of taking me
Same.
away from games a little bit.
Yep.
So that's kind of my other issue is like I really when I get home and I want to kind of veg, I'm not looking for something really intense and like story intensive. I'm kind of looking for a more of a mind numbing like autopilot kind of game like Monster Hunter
Yep.
um,
Same.
or
Same.
Neo. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. So we'll play
Yeah.
them. Don't worry.
As far as my brains right now and the way I'm wired and the way like you said, I'm in the process of moving
Hmm.
and all this other stuff
Hmm.
like that. So it's like my brain is only focused. Even Metal Gears, even though it's a story driven game, it's
Yeah.
mission based. So I don't have to really focus. And you got to gather resources and manage your soldiers and shit. So it's like
Hmm.
not really a story based game. It's almost like another Monster Hunter Rise type deal where you just go
Yep.
in, do a couple missions, and you pop out. Which I actually really appreciate now, and I see why they did the game design like that. I just think 5 years ago I wasn't in that headspace, so
Hmm.
I appreciate it. But I guess now we can talk about. Are you going to talk about
Rise.
Apex Legends or Rise?
No, no, yeah, no. I think yeah, you're done with everything you're playing, right? Besides
Yeah,
Rise.
yeah,
Yeah. So Monster Hunter Rise. So Montreal got back into it this week. I think you only played once though, right?
yeah. I have a
Um.
lot of stuff to do this week.
Okay. So I mean, the main reason I want to talk about this game is not really about our experience playing it right now. I mean, obviously, I'm still having fun with it. I'm playing it almost every night, every other night, probably. Um, and I'm really enjoying it. But there was a huge patch drop this week that happened on Tuesday or Wednesday. It was
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday at
Tuesday, yeah, it was
7
Tuesday.
p.m.
Tuesday night. That's right. Huge patch drop. They dropped spoilers if you don't want to hear this. So skip forward a few seconds. Two Elder Dragons, no, three Elder Dragons, Chameleos, Teostra, Kushala Daora, and then they added Basil Goose secretly without announcing it, which was really cool. Actually, I did appreciate that. And then they also added some Apex monsters as regular hunts, uh,
Nice, yeah.
and those monsters are the deviants from Generations. That is, like a confirmed thing. So they're not
Okay,
new monster designs, but they are bringing some of those monsters back because those fights are vastly different from the regular forms. So it is kind of cool to see those make a return.
yeah, and I love
Um,
it.
yeah, but so this patch kind of brought Montreal back to the game because he had taken a huge hiatus from it. He got bored of it in the middle of April and hasn't been playing it for a couple weeks. But um, the reason I want to talk about this though is that I think the Monster Hunter community is in an interesting spot because this series to me, this is a serious discussion for me too, man. Like, because I care about Monster Hunter a lot. It's
I'm
one of my
laughing
favorite
in like a
series.
sarcastic manner
I
because I'm
know
so
you are.
upset.
No, no, no. I know. I'm not. I know. I wasn't digging at you or anything. I'm just saying, like this series. I care about this series a lot, and I know you do too. Like you care about probably more than I do. You've been playing it from the fucking beginning.
Yeah,
But we care about this series a lot, and this series right now, to me, is in a very like large period of transition that I
it's
think the
in a very
community is
important
not.
period transition as
Yes,
well.
and the community's not recognizing it. I think right now, and they're I think there's going to come a moment in the future. I don't know if it's going to be with Rise, but it could be with the next game that I think there's going to be some severe backlash with this series that is coming because I already do not necessarily love the approach they've taken with Rise because I believe this is not a fact. I'm not stating this as a fact, but I would almost put my confidence level at like 99% that this game was not finished when it came out. Like they released it in an unfinished state. It only had it had 7 stars in the hub, which is the multiplayer part of the game. That's really the most important part. But the key thing here is that the end game in Rise when it came out was very little. It was mostly talisman farming, and there were a few monsters in 7 star, maybe 5 to 10 that you could fight. And there were the key thing for me is that the gear was not fleshed out at all. The weapon trees, most of the weapons on the weapon trees are complete shit for the most part in the base game of Rise. And even now, after this patch, they're still not that much better. They've added a few weapons, but they're not all the way there yet. And frankly, the key thing that indicates to me that this game wasn't done was that there was no rarity 7 weapons in the game until this patch came out. And there's only one really per like weapon type. So there was only rarity 6, and even equipment like armor was only up to rarity 6. There was like 2 or 3 rarity 7 sets, and that was it, dude. That was it. And in my time playing Monster Hunter, I have never seen them release a Monster Hunter game like with so little in terms of gearing that you could do, and also with such a light amount of end game monsters to fight. Like I just think
Yeah,
the game wasn't, and I think COVID probably was to blame for this. They didn't want
it
to push the
was.
release date back, and I respect that to a degree, but I
Man,
don't
I
I don't
I
know.
go with Shigeru Miyamoto's. If a delayed game, is a
Yeah.
delayed game, but
Hmm.
a rush game is a bad game forever. Not to say that
Yeah.
Rise is bad. So my issue with this in the community and large. I've been going on the Reddits, I've been going on the YouTubes, and I wish I had a larger platform because I would make a YouTube channel calling out these other YouTubers and in the Reddit, to be honest with you, because
They
it's
do need
fucking
to be called
ridiculous.
out. They do need to
Yeah,
be called out. The YouTubers. Yeah.
yeah, it's fucking ridiculous in my opinion. I know they're trying to keep their money on. I'm pretty sure Capcom gives them perks, and I know they're trying to keep that. But we have to be realistic about this game. This game, the way it released, is not justifiable.
I
I don't
agree.
care if I had to wait 4 more months for this game to come out. It released in
Fuck it,
September.
dude. Bro, 2 months. Because the patch coming out next month, which will be 2 months after the game comes out, is quote unquote coming with a new ending. That's what they said. Like those are the
Yeah,
words they used.
the game
So
is not even the story of the game is not even fucking finished.
it's not
So it's like
finished. Yeah. Right.
um and people are comparing it to World. I think that's a justifiable thing. World was base. So I'm talking about base World. World had
Yeah.
a beginning, a middle, and the end. You got to the end boss and you fought that end boss, the giant monster, I think his name's Genova,
Zenajiva. Yeah, Zenajiva.
Geneva. So you fought that monster, and then like you start unlocking arch tempered monsters. And it was just that was even though I ragged on it at the time, it was still something. You got good gear out of it. You could only
That's
get
significantly more than what we have gotten with
yeah,
Rise.
and you
Like
got
there were
good gear
multiple
out of it.
Elder Dragons in the game, like already
Yes.
in the base game. The game's story was finished. Like Montrell said, there was rarity 7 gear like everywhere. It was, you could make a build in that game,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And held a lot of people over until Iceborne came out. So I
Yeah.
say all that because even Monster Hunter 4, just base 4 had more content. Base 3 had more content.
Yeah.
Base 1 had more content.
Yep.
So I don't want to hear this oh well, you guys have been playing for 500 hours. I've only been playing the game record on time 40 hours, 45 hours, and
Yeah.
probably like 5 hours of that is just me and my hunter just standing there because I'm doing other shit like outside
Yeah.
of the game. So
Yep.
it's like that's not doable for me. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting to 4-star. I got to 4-star high rank, and I was like, I'm done. Like I don't see a point in playing this game anymore. I mean, you guys kept playing. I commend you for that, but I couldn't do it because I'm like, I don't see a point in it. Like
Yeah.
if you're not gonna put effort into the high rank, like at least put effort into the high rank. Like, okay, guys, this is high rank. We got some variants just to hold you over until a year
Yep.
and a half to when G
Yep.
rank comes out.
Yep.
Now, when I'm getting to the community rather, they're complaining about that, saying that people, because of COVID, we're playing the games more, and that's why it seems like there's less content. No, there's legitimate less content in this game, and it's
Yeah.
not just me saying that. There are regular, normal people and I mainly see this from the vets. The vets are the ones getting downvoted. They say they're vets. They're like, oh man, I love the game. I love everything about it. There's just a lack of content. It's mainly the new people, the new Monster Hunter people who came in on World. And I hate to be this kind of elitist gatekeeping motherfucker, but it's like you guys don't really know what content is, to be honest with you. Because
Yeah.
World had a lot of good content. But to say like, oh, Rise is fine, and you're comparing it to World, it's not fair. We're comparing it to over 3 or 4 games that had really good significant content. And for
The
people to
base
just be
level. We're talking about the base level of these games.
base
I'm not
level,
talking about Ultimate
I'm not talking
guys.
about the
Neither of
U
us are.
versions, the G
Yeah.
version. I'm not talking about none of that. I'm
Yeah.
talking about
Right.
base version of the game.
Right.
It's despicable. This is the worst I've ever seen this team perform on a video game. And
Yeah.
if you listen to this podcast, me and Justin have nothing but high praises for the Monster Hunter team. We
Yep.
thought they can do nothing wrong, and they're doing something wrong. The problem is no one's calling them out on it. And
That's my problem. I'm playing the game and having fun, but at the same time, I'm gonna tell you the truth that this is not enough. And I don't like these YouTubers, all these guys, and like fuck it, I'll say them by name. Eric's, Gaijin, there's a few others I don't remember their names, but these guys are not calling this out. I've not heard any of them say any of this stuff that we're talking about right now, that the game's content is severely fucking lacking. Like it to because this is the point I was initially going to get to, is that the game's in a straight state of transition. I don't know if this is a planned thing from Capcom, if they want to do this with future games, because they started doing this with World a little bit, and they've always done this to a lesser extent with every Monster Hunter game, but it started to get more and more severe with every game. Is that I think Monster Hunter Rise at this point can almost be classified as a live service game. That's kind of where I'm at with it, dude, because they released so many monsters with this first update. Yeah, sure, that's great, but the next update's going to have a lot of monsters too. They said several more monsters, a new ending. I think we're going to get a ton of shit in this update at the end of May, and that's great. On paper, that sounds awesome to me, but to me, it should have been in the base game at launch. Like this is stuff that they're not adding this stuff. This is stuff that, like, you guys think they developed all the monsters that they released in the update here in April in 1 month? Fuck no, they didn't do that.
No.
They were working on all these monsters well before that. They just weren't ready to put them in the game when the game came out. Like it wasn't ready for prime time when the game came out.
We have to be fair. This content is free.
Yeah,
and
understood.
Understand.
Doesn't change the facts,
it, though.
Though.
In my opinion, it doesn't change it, because I bought this game, and I legitimately so the game is so fun that I want to play it more. But then once it's just so demoralizing when you see that weapon tree. Like when you go to that weapon tree, it's just and they did this weird thing where they lock it, and I don't know if
they locked everything.
Been a thing.
By the way.
You say what? They locked everything?
Everything, dude. Like the talisman melding is locked until you beat the final Elder Dragon. Like, it's so annoying because you can't do it. You can't build your character until you quote beat the game. Like beat the game. Like you fight the Elder Dragon that's, quote, causing the rampage, and like you don't get to do anything. Like you can build certain weapons and certain armor sets with monsters you fight, but you don't, like, the weapon tree is locked until you fight that monster. Some parts of the weapon tree are locked till you fight that final Elder Dragon. Like, and that shit sucks, dude. Like,
that's totally ridiculous in my opinion. Like,
yeah, like it feels like I have to rush to the end, and I don't want to feel that way in a Monster Hunter game. I've never felt that way in a Monster Hunter game, in fact. And like this game was the first time where I really felt like all my time before I got to the very end of Hub was like not really valuable to me. I was having fun, but it was like I was really just like, I want to fucking get through these ranks. Yeah,
we're literally rushing through the game just to get to the end game. And I love this game, by the way. For me, I'm burnt out because this is like, I don't even know how many numbers it is at this point. So I'm coming from a point of bias as well, because I've been playing this game for a long ass time, since the very first one.
Right.
I think the people that aren't complaining right now, this is their second game or maybe their third game, because they probably played Double Cross Generations. Yeah. So it's just really hard because they don't really understand, or maybe they do understand. I mean, I don't know, but it's like I would just remember buying Freedom Unite on the PSP, and that game had a lot of content in it. And you can play that game. That game was primarily single player, but you can play the online hub quest offline. So it was like you had a chance to, build and slowly build into where you can start, beating these monsters that were made for 4 hunters. You can start beating them in 5 minutes because your gear would be so fucking outrageous and good. But you had to really grind for that. Like, I'm talking like hundreds and hours of that, and it was worth it in my opinion. But now it's like, I shouldn't for a Monster Hunter game, I shouldn't be dropping this at 40 hours. Me personally, like,
dude, we have I beat the game in about 40 hours.
Yeah,
like I got to the end of 7-star Hub in about 40 hours. That's all it took me. That's insane. That's faster than World. World took me 60 to 70 probably to get to the end of, and I thought that was fast, the World too. So like, that's kind of what I'm saying, is like the games are like, feel like they're getting smaller, and they're like stretching the content out more. I don't like that. I don't I don't know. Like, we thought Iceborne was phenomenal. I think it really was a phenomenal. The Clutch Claw notwithstanding, the actual content inside Iceborne was absolutely insane. Like, it was crazy how much was in that fucking game when they launched it. You know, like, and
Yeah, exactly.
that is like that's what they should be doing for a base game. You know, like, and that's like Rise doesn't even hold up to an expansion pack. That's kind of where I'm at with it. You know, that's how I feel personally. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
No, I know.
um,
I think if you just want to compare it to Iceborne,
yeah,
Iceborne had it, we're just talking about Iceborne and none of the old content because essentially it
yeah,
was a new game. To be honest with you, let's
yeah.
just
That's
be
what I'm
honest.
saying. It was a new game. It really
Uh,
was.
uh, it fucking blew. It blows Rise out the water in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know where we go from here. I really just want, and I know two of my listeners play Monster Hunter, and I know one of them, I think is that dude. I really want to hear your opinion because I think you're new to the series. I think you started in World. If
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing, I played with him a couple of times. I couldn't remember which one he said he played, or maybe he's a vet too. I can't remember. But I really
Mm-hmm.
want to hear your opinions on this game because um, I don't want to be like, an elitist neckbeard motherfucker and be like, oh my god, I'm a much of the vet and blah, blah, blah. Like,
There's not enough content.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly,
Capcom.
exactly. I really want to be fair. Um,
Yeah.
I do feel like though this is one of those things that one of our uh friends in our group chat mentioned, which I didn't even think about. This game is
Yeah.
staying
I
on
know where
the
you're going.
radar, yeah,
Yeah.
by drip feeding content, and that's good for business. It's really good for business. You want this to stay on
That's
the
what I'm
media.
saying.
You want this to stay
Yeah.
on social media. I just think this is a very slippery slope. Like, I
Yeah.
went okay, so now we're getting drip fed free content. When is it going to be start drip feeding paid content? When's that going to happen now? Like
Yeah.
now I'm thinking about that, and I should never think about that with the fucking Monster Hunter game.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
what if monsters were locked behind a paywall? You can't hunt these
Yeah. Like
monsters
you have
because
to buy monster packs or
yeah.
map
Oh my! Don't say
packs.
that. Don't say that.
Imagine, dude.
Oh my
No, dude. I
god.
mean, these are concerns I have, and this is my problem with the community being so praiseworthy on Capcom. You guys need to really think about your actions here because the things we do have consequences. If we all tell Capcom that this Monster Hunter Rise is fucking great, this is perfect, this is exactly what we want, they're gonna keep pushing the line until it's not what you want anymore. And like I'd rather cry wolf now than when it's too late in a few
Yeah.
years when they're doing exactly what Montreal and I are talking about, where the game comes out and there's only 5 stars, when the fucking game comes out, and they release 6 stars in an update a month after it comes out. Because it's like, yeah, it is good for business to have your game constantly in the news every time a new patch comes out, and everyone's like, oh my god, they added 8 new monsters in the update, and it's like, brah, like it's obvious those were being developed before the game came out. Like, what the fuck, Like their whole like. I'm not saying they're intentionally holding back content, but that's the way it feels to me. And another good point our friend brought up, the same person who brought up the point about it staying in the news all the time, is that he likes the game a lot, and he is a newcomer to Monster Hunter. He only played World, and he didn't get very far in World. He barely played very much of it. He got to like high rank, and then he stopped. He's really into Rise though. He's really having a fun time with Rise, and he's saying to us though, even as a newcomer, he's like, I don't want the meta to change with every one of these fucking patches that comes out, and I have to regrind all this gear every month because they're fucking revolutionizing the meta, which is I didn't tell him this, but that is exactly what's going to happen because dude, this patch changed everything. There's the Teostra gear set there's a couple pieces in there that are fucking incredible for like almost everybody, and we're all gonna be wearing that shit. There were new decorations they added that weren't in the game. Like the fucking weakness exploit, you can make decorations for that now, which you couldn't before this patch. That's added now, which completely changes talismans because the weakness exploit talisman, that's what everyone was trying to get pre-patch. Fuck that shit. Now you can gem it. Who cares? You don't need the fucking talismans for that. So it's like that's going to happen every single one of these patches as they add more and more gear and weapons. Once the rarity 7 weapons and gear start showing up, it's going to blow up the meta every time. And we're going to have to refarm all this shit. And the game, that's my point about it being a live service game. That's the approach that is being taken right now, because this is what Destiny does. This is what MMOs do. This is the same concept. They're doing the same things. They want you to keep playing the game constantly, constantly. And then when you're finally done, they drop new content and hook you back in. And you ain't playing anything else at that point, you know? So, like, that's, I'm coming to terms with it. I think this is the future, unfortunately, but I'm not happy with it right now.
Yeah, I
That's where
think
I'm
we
at.
just got to get used to it. Yeah,
I
Monster
know.
Hunter is now a live service game. I mean, you got to pay for emotes, you got to pay for
Mm-hmm.
different hairstyles,
Costumes.
yeah,
Yep.
costumes. So, I
Yep.
mean, we kind of predicted this like a
Mm-hmm.
couple months ago, or maybe
Yep.
like a year or two ago. We predicted this, and I didn't think it was going to happen because we were just talking shit. But if they
Yeah.
got a fucking mole in our fucking, I don't know, if somebody listen to our fucking podcast, please stop this shit. Don't listen to us anymore. Like, I know we give you guys great business ideas, but stop it. Holy
These
shit.
amazing. Yeah, we're giving them horrible ideas. On a positive note, though, I will say, I mean, again, the game's really good. The
Oh
game
yeah.
is fun. The game is really fun to play. From a gameplay
I
standpoint, they knocked it out the park.
I
But
will say this with full confidence. This is probably gameplay wise the best Monster Hunter I've ever played.
I agree. I actually agree with you there. Because they married the world stuff with the old stuff really well.
Yes. Yep.
Like, it's a combination of both. They did exactly what me and you wanted. They evolved the clutch claw into something better with the wire bug. So the game is fun to play. It's just there's not enough of it. That's really the issue that we
And I
have.
actually want more maps too.
I agree. Only 5.
Yeah.
That's not great. And more on a positive note is this stream they did also showed some gameplay and stuff in a trailer for a Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is so Montreal and I were talking about a week or two ago how we want them to really kind of try some other things with Monster Hunter, and I forgot about this series. This is actually them doing that. This is
Yeah.
literally a
Yeah.
turn-based JRPG, like Pokemon style JRPG with Monster Hunter, and I actually want to play this. I
Yeah,
think it's
this
coming out in
this game
July.
looks really good. I don't
Yeah,
know about the first one. I know the first one it did get really good reviews, but this one looks like it
yep,
upped the ante on the combat system. It is turn based,
yep.
but it looks fucking dope, yo. I think I'm going to play it too.
Yeah. So I may check that out. So yeah, good on them for that. I'm glad they are diversifying Monster Hunter a little bit, and I hope there's some success here so they can do a little bit more experimentation. But okay, we've been going for like 45 minutes already. So let's move on to the news, Montreal. We got
All
a
right.
lot of stuff to go through. Tales of Arise was re-revealed last week. There was a lot of positive buzz about it, including from us. But there is one negative element that has come to light in since then. Is that Tales, which is known as a series that has enabled local multiplayer almost from the get-go, I think,
Yep.
for a very long time. You've been able to play local multiplayer in the battles with people, with friends. That is going away in Tales of Arise, and I know this sounds silly, like, oh, local multiplayer, who does that anymore? However, it's one of the most unique things in video games that Tales was doing, and I know it's probably super niche and almost no one ever used it, but dude, to me, like, it's such a cool element to know somebody who likes Tales and to like play through the fucking game with them, and you like fight battles together and stuff. You're controlling one character and your friend's controlling another, and you can go even further with some of these games where you can do everyone's being controlled independently by somebody. You could have like
Yeah.
4 people playing.
Yeah.
That's really cool,
Yeah, that is
but
cool.
it's being taken out in a Rise, and I understand why. There was an interview on Famitsu that was translated, from the producer, talking about it, and he said that this game is basically single player focused, and that's what they wanted to focus on. And I again, I get it. I get it. I kind of wish, though, this is kind of what I wanted, is I wish they had gone the opposite direction, where they leaned into the multiplayer more. Actually let us play multiplayer online with other people. That would have been
Mm,
fucking cool.
yeah.
Because dude, me and you could have played through this game together,
Yeah.
or a Tales
Yep.
game, and that's never been a thing. They've never done online before. And that's
So this will
you
be
know
my prediction. I think if we make enough outcry about it and everything of that nature, I think I'm okay with this because I actually think the multiplayer functionality is really cool.
Yeah.
because you can get someone who's normally not into Tails, you can get them into Tails by
Mm-hmm.
couch co-oping with them. Or you
Mm-hmm.
can get like 4 people that play Tails. I have read some people that do that. They're like, yo, me and my friends all get together, we pick one character we play, and that's what we do. Um, I think this game has like the combat system potential to do crazy combos with like other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think what they're doing is they're trying to perfect this system, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think the next game they're gonna put multiplayer back in because they figured out the system, they figured out everything. If that makes any
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because they mentioned the special arts system in this game is one of the big reasons why they didn't think you'd be able to do it, because multiple characters combine their attacks together when you do these special arts. So there needs to be specific conditions met in order for you to be able to pull those attacks off. But I'm sure they can figure out a way to integrate that into
Yeah.
multiplayer. So I
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I do. This is a departure for the series in terms of style, and definitely the combat looks a lot more robust than normal. So maybe on their first attempt with this, they didn't want to bog themselves down having to design the game around multiplayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making sure everything worked. That is an effort that they have to do. They can't just throw multiplayer in.
Yeah.
They need to make sure things work, that combos make sense together, the characters that don't fucking overlap with each other and fuck each other up, and things like that. So I understand that element to it, but I hope you're right. I hope we see it in the future. So let them know if you're not happy about this. Okay, next story, Montreal. We've heard about this before. I think we talked about this briefly
Yeah. We did. Yeah.
a few months ago that this came up. But Jason Schreier of Bloomberg actually confirmed on a podcast he was on, the MinMax podcast, that Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is being remade and being developed by Asper. And I've talked about Asper a little bit before, but to reiterate, they're a well-known port studio that mainly focuses on Mac OS ports for popular PC games. They've done huge number of ports for like 2K, for Axis as well with the Civ games, and so they have a pretty good relationship with 2K games. But yeah, and they've also done they did the iOS and Android ports for KOTOR on mobile devices as well. So there is some connective tissue here. This does make sense in that regard. But Montreal, does this excite you? This is a remake. This is being classified as a remake, not a remaster. So
I think it's exciting and it's scary at the same time because I feel actually
yeah,
bad for the studio,
yeah,
and the reason I feel bad for them, because for me personally, I think the studio is probably capable of remaking this game. They actually did
mm-hmm,
the ports for numerous Star Wars games for the PS4 and for the Switch. They did
mm-hmm,
Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, for the mobiles rather, and they did Star Wars Racers, uh, Jedi Outcast 1 and 2, or
mm-hmm.
Jedi Academy as you guys may know them, 1 and 2 for the Switch and for the PS4. So I think they know what a Star Wars game is. I think they
Yeah,
have the blueprints for what makes a good Star Wars game. I am not nervous about it. The only reason I am nervous about it is because what if they do a departure and this game is so beloved. I can only imagine the fucking stress they're going through
yeah,
making this game. And it's a
mm-hmm,
remake. So they're literally making it from the ground up again.
yeah,
So you not only do you have to worry about like the game mechanics and everything of that nature, the writing is such a big deal in Couture. It's
mm-hmm.
probably the 90% of the reason why this game is loved. Because if you want to be honest, the gameplay is kind of meh, but the writing,
Yeah. It doesn't hold up very well,
yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah, no, this game definitely is in need of a remake.
yeah.
At this point.
But I wonder if they're going to keep the same dialogue or they're going to write new dialogue. So that would be my biggest concern, as a fan and as a person who is concerned about the studio. Because this is a relatively, I don't want to say small studio, but they're not like a super huge like Insomniac or some shit, and they're not really as well known
I
as like
mean,
a mid tier studio.
they're kind of a port. I mean, they're known as a port studio pretty much primarily. That's always
Yeah,
been their niche within gaming. But I
it,
I am of the opinion that they're very good.
Yeah, I think they're very good too. I think this could be, um, this game could be their Demon Souls. Like how
Yeah.
Bluehole, they were Port
Yep.
Studios, and then Demon
Yep.
Souls came out with the remake, and everyone wants port Bluehole to port other games or remake other games now. And this, I think, is their chance to do that. And
Hmm.
I think they can pull it off. I think if they can update the combat system, I still want it to be kind of like RPG is turn based kind of deal. It wasn't. It was more
Hmm.
like an MMO system they had. I still kind of want that system, but I know a lot of people aren't really accustomed to that. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in how they're going to do that. But I am excited for it.
Yeah. I am too. I believe these guys can do a good job with it. To be honest, they could just do what Xenoblade Chronicles did and don't really change the dialogue and just port the audio over and maybe remaster that a little bit.
Oh yeah, okay.
Put it in like HD, like HDify it or something. But and maybe redo some of the music, which they could definitely do. It depends on how good the performances are in KOTOR. I don't remember enough to say definitively if revoicing things would be necessary, but um at the same time, like I think a remake of this game makes sense. This game is it's like almost 20 years old at this point. And despite what a lot of people say, I actually don't think it holds up very well. I played about half of KOTOR, so I do remember the game, and I mean, it's a little janky.
No, yeah, no, it's definitely
uh,
dated. It's definitely dated.
yeah, it's very dated. So, if they turn it into an action game, I don't hate that as long as it maintains its RPG roots. I don't have a problem with that
Yeah,
necessarily.
same.
But at the same time, I think there's definitely a route they could take of what you said, where they kind of keep that like pause based element that you can have in the game. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure it is an action game, but you can pause combat and like issue commands and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
so it was more akin to like Dragon Age Origins. That's
Yes,
the where
yes.
I can compare it to. It's almost a CRPG, not all the way, but it's
Hmm.
almost there. And they can do that because CRPGs are really popular now. You got well, Divine is Divine considered a CRPG?
Uh, Sorry. Divinity? You talking about?
Divinity, I said
Yeah,
Divine. Yeah,
Divinity
Divinity.
Original Sin. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
that game's
quintessential CRPG.
yeah, that game's extremely popular. So they could do something like that, but still keep the same format of Couture, everything like that.
I don't think they do that because KOTOR is third person, so I think they want to maintain that look for sure in that camera perspective.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah, they can still do something like that, or they can make it like a Final Fantasy type system where you just switch characters on the fly, and
mhm.
it's still action based, but it's still RPG as well.
Yeah.
I think Final Fantasy 7 really kind of, I'm
Hmm.
gonna say,
Hmm.
yeah, they kind of revolutionized it. Like people were
Yeah.
doing that before, don't get me wrong, but they kind of
Hmm.
made like this is what this kind of genre should look like, and now
Yeah.
everyone's striving to be that. If that makes any sense, and they can just put their own spin to it. So,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see if they do.
Cool. We'll keep you guys posted on that. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. All right. Next story is there was there was a leak of an internal EA document,
Oh God.
EA presentation this week, and this stirred up this huge controversy, and you can tell by my like exasperation here that I don't think this is much of a story, but this document leaked and was like it said that they said there was a quote in there, all roads lead to FUT, which is FIFA Ultimate Team, which is their microtransaction mode within FIFA. How they're trying to push people towards the microtransactions in their video games. Like that's what they want to do, right? This leaked. I actually think this came from a non-gaming outlet originally, and then the gaming media kind of picked it up, and then everybody just started talking about it from there, and there's a lot of consternation about this, blah blah blah, about EA. But the reason I'm not like up in arms about this is like it's like this is like the most non-story I can remember in a while, like because bro, I don't know if you agree with me on this, Montreal, but like microtransactions exist for people to purchase them. Of fucking course, they want you to buy them. They want to lead you in some way to purchase them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the fucking game. Like, I don't understand why we're talking about this so deeply. Like it's some
I was
huge
just gonna say
philosophical
that.
thing.
I was
Yeah,
just
like
gonna say that. I
yeah,
read the Reddit thread and everything of that nature. Um, hey guys, Madden fan, ex Madden fan over here.
yeah.
Welcome to what we're dealing with. If you guys stop buying the fucking game, then maybe they will change stuff. But everyone
Yeah.
keeps buying the game. So there's nothing really else to say about it. Because yeah, like you said, of course they want people to buy microtransactions. They make almost $8 million a year off that shit. $800 million a year off that
Bro, yeah,
shit
they're close
alone.
to $1 billion off this shit, guys.
Yeah.
We've trained them to be this way, by the way. So don't be so angry at EA for feeling this way. For
We
internally, this is their
it's the
strategy.
it's literally
We've
our
done this.
faults. Yeah. It's
We've
literally
done
our
this,
fault.
okay? We buy this shit, and I'm not saying I don't do it in EA's games, but I do it in other games. I buy microtransactions. I've done it. Like we're culpable in this situation. There are consequences to our actions as consumers. Like and this is it. They're gonna keep putting microtransactions in these games until they stop selling so many of them.
And
You
I
know,
hate to break it to you guys. Yeah, we're big sports game fans, me and Justin are. And I'm sure Reddit is too as well, like the Reddit and everything.
mm-hmm.
But you have to understand, we, as far as sports games goes, we are an extreme minority. Like I'm talking
Yes,
like extreme minority. We play other video games. We understand the industry. I'm pretty sure other people do as well. But you have to realize there are people out there, and I know a couple of them myself
yep,
that only buy a console in Madden
mm-hmm.
2K, Call of Duty. That's all they fucking have. They don't play any other fucking video games. That's all they have. So all they have extra money to spend. I want to play Ultimate Team. Okay, yeah, I can put $10 in there because I'm not playing another game. What else other game will play? Call of Duty or 2K, like
Mm-hmm.
or MLB The Show or anything like that. Like
Right,
I know
right,
people who specifically go out buy consoles and just to play the game, and then the console itself is nothing more than a Blu-ray machine. So it's
mm-hmm.
like and I honestly believe in my holiest of holiest, that's 80% of their consumers
Yeah.
and probably 90% of their ultimate scene consumers. Like that's all they fucking play. And
Yeah.
we can bitch and boast. That's why I don't really talk about it no more because we can bitch and boast about it. But until we get that other 80% to see that your
Yeah.
game is suffering, like I
Yep.
mean, Madden 2021 was a huge example of that. Actually, a lot of casual people start seeing how bad the game was, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't know why the game's so bad. They just like, oh my god, the game shit. Stop buying the game. It's literally that
Yeah.
easy.
Well, maybe that's the positive side of this story gaining so much traction is that maybe there are people out there that need to see this to like understand
Yeah.
where we're at with these sports games. So for me and you, like we like, duh, like this is the most duh thing imaginable.
I
But
don't think it's gonna get
you know,
big until say like a popular podcaster like Joe Budden or Joe Rogan or somebody like that. Like, hey man, I was playing
talks
fucking
about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they talk like I was playing fucking Madden and this shit's buggy as hell. But they want me to pay for, fucking
Card
Ultimate
packs,
Team.
my old Beckham card pack.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Like
like
if no
get the.
one talks until it gets that big when it's on those type of
It's on
platforms.
mainstream, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now it's still in the gaming sphere of
Mhm.
mainstream. It's not entertainment mainstream.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's not going to change, unfortunately, guys. I'm sorry.
And until the only other way this will change too is if there's a competitor that's allowed to make a game that's way better than Madden that doesn't have the microtransactions, but the chances of that happening are like as close to zero as you can get without actually being zero. 2K would be the only option that I think would ever really be allowed back into this situation, and they are just as bad as EA.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
at this point. So I like I have no hope. Okay, my hope has been robbed of like stripped out of me at this point with Madden. So with football games in general. So I don't want to. We don't need to linger on this topic, but
Yeah,
it's worth talking about because it has been making the rounds.
it
So
was it was a no shit. It was a no brainer type topic that
yeah,
we got to say. Like no shit, guys.
right. We've been telling you this for fucking years on this podcast at this point. So that's that. Okay, let's move on to our next story. Sony had a state of play today. It was relatively short. It was mainly focused on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart gameplay. There was about 15 to 20 minutes of that. And then they showed a little bit of Subnautica. What was it? Sub Zero, you said, or Deep
Uh,
Freeze or something?
uh, below Sub Zero, something like that. I can't remember. I'm
Sub
sorry.
Zero. Okay, it's a
Yeah, below
Subnautica.
zero, below zero. That's
Below
what's.
Zero.
Yeah,
Okay. It's a Subnautica. I think it's an expansion, but it's the game I think is included as
yeah.
well.
The base game's
They're
included in it with the expansion.
yeah, and they're
On
bringing it to PS5. They were just
yep,
showing it off.
twenty
And
nine ninety
then
nine.
they also showed this game does look dope though, Subnautica. I will say I really do want to play it at some point. It looks like a really fucking cool game. The other one they showed was just Among Us. It's coming to I think PS4 and PS5 if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, correct.
Okay. So that was their other thing. And don't get up in arms about this. They said beforehand this was going to be Ratchet and Clank focused, and then they were going to talk about a couple indie games, and that was it. And that's what they did. So,
Yeah, I'm
you
not
know,
gonna get mad about it. It's it.
um, but let's talk about Ratchet and Clank. So they did show extensive gameplay. I haven't watched all of it, but I watched some brief snippets of it here and there. And Montrell, this game looks fucking impressive, dude.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about the
My
game.
God. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
my only gripe with the game is how they nerfed Clank's dialogue. He used to be
Mm.
more energetic, actual person, but now he's like really robotish, and I think that's the rewrites they did.
Yeah,
Him
with the
and
reboot.
yeah, with the reboot. In the older Ratchet and Clank games, him and Ratchet would go back and forth to each other. It was, it was a thing for them. They were best friends, but
Mhm.
they also like, get on each other's nerves because they were with each other for all that time.
Yep.
So I like that dynamic they had, and they kind of took that away in this one.
Mhm.
But besides that, I think everything else, the game looks beautiful. The gameplay looks fantastic. Like the gameplay you see is literally just Ratchet and Clank. Like that's what Ratchet and Clank is. They always had crazy zany weapons. They always try to do stuff out the norm. My
Yep.
personal favorite Ratchet and Clank is Deadlock, and this
Yep.
game ripped apart. What the fuck? Like you can go to different worlds instantaneously, and
Dude, that shit is wild, man. I'm watching it right now. They transition from one level to another level, completely different environments. One's like a metropolitan cityscape and the other one's like a wilderness almost. And these are completely different levels. They transition between one to the other within about 3 seconds. That is nuts and there's no lag.
yeah, seamless. This is a gameplay mechanic.
Seamless.
Yeah, like you'll
Yes.
fight a boss that will be switching you into different worlds, and these are
Yes.
not just like no worlds designed for that boss fight or whatever. These are actual full worlds. Like I think these are other
Yeah.
levels that you will visit that are
Yeah.
fully
Right.
developed and everything of that nature.
Mhm.
So this is really showing the power of the SSD and the PlayStation
Yep.
5 in general.
Yep.
I can't wait to see more games like
Yep.
this, but this is to me, this is their first true like first party game that's going to show the power of the PS5.
Yep.
Besides Returnal, that's coming out tomorrow from day of
Yep.
recording.
Yeah, so I'm I've never played Ratchet and Clank, and I think this might be my first one. I think I'm gonna play this game and I'm gonna give it a shot because yeah, this game looks fucking phenomenal. It looks really fun. It looks beautiful graphically, and the technical kind of showcase here is also something I'm highly interested in. I really just want to see like what this fucking game can do on this console, and kind of see what they do with all this. So I'm really excited for it. It looks great. I would recommend everybody go check out the state of play. It's a very extensive gameplay demo. And yeah, we'll definitely be talking about it when it comes out. So cool. All right, let's move on to our next story. This is more Sony. Sony has confirmed that they have sold 7.8 million PS5s since launch in November of last year, and that is zero point 0.2 million. So that they sold 7.6 million PS4s in the same time frame from when it launched. So they're a little bit ahead of the PlayStation 4. I think demand is higher here than I think it was for the PlayStation 4 at launch, and that it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I think the supply constraints are going to be an interesting thing to track in the first half of this generation with this console and then the Xbox as well. But so far, Sony's doing great. I mean, even though we're criticizing them a lot, they're having a lot of bad press and everything. It doesn't seem to matter. Montreal, they have a lot of momentum coming from last
No,
generation.
the console is a fucking phenomenal console. It's just
Yeah.
what leadership is doing. That's my only gripe with like
Hmm.
Sony right now. I think the games
Yeah.
coming out for it. I think the console itself is really good. I
Hmm.
mean, I have some nitpicks here and there, but that's like little shit that they can patch in and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the overall, I'm satisfied with the console. I'm just, I know the last couple of weeks, like we said, we're not really satisfied with the way the company's handling things, even though they did a renege last week, which I appreciate. But yeah,
Yeah. So that's good. We also got some numbers from um Microsoft as well. They reported on their earnings, and that included Xbox. So Microsoft's Xbox division, they announced, posted 3.6 billion in revenue, which is up 50% year over year. That's a pretty significant increase. And they also reported that they had a 232% increase in overall gaming hardware revenue, which it attributes to continued demand of the Xbox Series X and S, of course. And they didn't give specific numbers on console sales though. So presumably they're lower than PlayStation's. We don't know how much. But like I told you guys at the beginning of the episode, like this thing is the Xbox is still impossible to find too, just as much as PlayStation 5. So I wouldn't imagine they're that far behind Sony. I don't know what it is with the reticence though to declare numbers. They haven't done it in a long time, really, since like Xbox 360, I'd say.
I think they stopped
So
doing it around the Xbox One when they were losing because they used to brag and boast about their numbers a lot, but now,
mhm.
yeah, since the Xbox One came out and PlayStation 4 is blowing that out the water, they stopped doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting to see. So the thing though that the conversation that came out of these numbers though that was interesting is there's been a lot of kind of talk going around about Game Pass again, and whether or not it's profitable. And you know, I think there's been a lot of debate going on despite us not having any hard numbers to talk about, and we can talk about that a little bit here, but it's I mean, Montreal, do you think Game Pass is profitable? Because I personally don't, and even if it is, it's probably very slight. You know,
Not right now, no.
yeah, because right now I believe they have, I don't know how many Game Pass subscribers they have. I think it's 25 million, um, something like that. And even at that number, it's, let me confirm this here,
I think it's one of those
23 million
things.
subscribers as of April 21st.
Yeah, I think
So
it's one of those things where you invest in it now and then years later it's going to pay off.
yeah,
And I think that's what they're
right,
counting on. And I
yeah,
will say probably within the next 2 years, probably fucking next year, they will probably make their money back, like guaranteed.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're making a lot of passive income too from this, but they're also investing a lot of money into it. I mean, dude, getting Outriders, getting MLB The Show, that shit's not cheap, dude. They also just announced that they're going to be getting what was the game? Knockout City as well on launch day. And I don't think these are cheap deals. Knockout City's probably not that expensive, but Outriders probably cost them 30, 40 million, I would think, at least, to make, because that's not something that Square Enix was just going to fucking give away. And the
Yeah,
show, I would imagine, wasn't that cheap either. So that's a lot of money that you're putting in for one game when you have a catalog of 150 to 200,
yeah,
that you have available to people. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. I don't think it's profitable, but I don't think Microsoft cares if it's profitable. That's not what it's about right now. They'll make it profitable at some point down the road. They're trying to offer a service though that no one else offers, and then they're going to make it invaluable to the point where we all are, like, anybody with an Xbox is signed up for it, and then we can't let it go. That's what their plan is, and then they're probably going to raise the price in the future, I'm sure, the way Netflix has over the years. And there you go. you know so what I want to talk about with this though, with Game Pass, is, Montreal, are you we haven't talked about this a lot because we praise Game Pass quite a bit, but Have you thought about at all, I guess, the long term ramifications of this service on the industry and the way it's monetized? Because if this finds the success that Microsoft wants, I do kind of become concerned about the industry's monetization model because I don't think the entire industry can be sustained on a model like this, you know?
That's why I'm not really too worried about it.
Mhm,
I don't think it's gonna affect the industry in negative ways. The only way I can see it doing that is if
mhm,
I don't know. I think it will force other people to do it. But I don't see companies themselves profiting off of this. I still don't know actually how movies and stuff like that profit off of the streaming service right now. I know they
mhm.
have numbers of
They
how many
don't
people.
really. They
Yeah.
don't. That industry is not doing well right now.
Okay. So like I don't for that reason alone, I don't think this is a sustainable model. I think it's something that's like a plus. I think it's something for like if you want to buy used games, it might kill the used game market. I can definitely see that.
Mhm.
Because you can just wait for a
Of
game
course.
to come out on
Yeah.
Game Pass 6 months later. So
Yeah.
that may be a concern as well because people may just wait now. Like, oh, I can just wait till it's on Game Pass and I'll play it later. Like
Mhm.
I'm backlogged on hundreds of video games, so it can like well maybe I'll renege my first statement. It can be a problem, but
Yeah.
they have to make it to where it's profitable for the developers and for them and for the consumers. So I
Yeah.
guess my suggestion would be, yeah, wait a whole year, maybe year and a half before you put like a new game on there, because there's going to be so many backlog games that people would do that. You know what I'm saying? And then people that really
Yeah.
want the games, they're going to buy the games up front anyway. You're still going to make your
Mhm.
money off that, if that makes any sense. So,
Mhm. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess another question I have is because there was we didn't talk about this, but did you hear about the comments that John Garvin, the former Sony Bend uh, co-founder, talked about with David Jaffe, where he kind of lamented this fate of Days Gone, that Days Gone 2 didn't get greenlit, and he kind of put the onus on consumers where he said buy fucking games at full price, you know. And did you hear about those comments at all?
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard about him, and then he kind of went back on it later on in the week.
Yeah. Yeah. But his point though is interesting in that I don't love the way he framed it, but it does bring up an interesting conversation. How much of the industry's health do you put on consumers? Like how responsible are we, like me and you and the people listening to this podcast that just buy games maybe a couple a month, you know? Like how responsible are we for the continuation of this industry into the future, you know? Because like we were talking about earlier, EA's behavior is kind of our fault because we buy their shit, you know, like we buy their microtransactions and show them that it's an extremely profitable venture for them. So, how
Yeah,
much of the onus is on us?
I say almost damn near 90% of it.
Yeah.
If games, just think about it. If we never bought, and I'm not saying Destiny's a bad game or anything, if we never fucking
Hmm.
bought Destiny, there would never be a
Yeah.
Destiny 2. There would never be an
Yeah.
expansion of Destiny 2.
Right.
If we never
Yep.
bought Madden, there would never be a Madden 95, 96, 97, so forth and so on.
Hmm.
Uh Reviews nowadays, reviews did have power back in the day, like back when those games came
Hmm.
out, but
Hmm.
now the earnest is on the wallet, the almighty dollar.
Hmm.
um, so if you don't want a game with transactions in it, don't buy the transactions. The problem
Yeah.
is us as consumers are so vast that we can't get a majority of people to stop buying those transactions.
Right. We all make individual decisions.
Exactly.
That's the issue, right? And
That
these then trends form.
exactly, and then they follow those trends, and they have people who went to fucking 8 years of college to make stuff to where we buy more. So it's
Yep.
like
Yep. Yep.
it is really on us. We don't understand how much power we have as far as the consumer goes.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, because look at last week, right? We literally stopped Sony from shutting down their online
Yeah.
services. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
there was enough outcry about that they heard us and changed their decision, right?
Yeah. So I agree with him. I just don't agree with the way he said it. But I agree. Like
Yeah.
buy games at full price, and then we would have got greenlit. Like we would have got
Yeah,
greenlit for
you
a
would have
second
gotten a
one.
Days Gone too,
Yep.
right? But okay, but here's the counter argument though, right? It's like, and I think Jaffe said this to him in the interview, like right afterwards. It's like, how do you know you like Days Gone before you buy it? You can't, and he says that you can't. Like John Garvin, like literally admitted that right afterwards. So it's like this is where it gets really complicated to me. Is that yes, our decisions do have consequences as consumers, absolutely. Like me buying an Xbox, right? Is one thing. But my plan, I'm not really planning on buying any games for Xbox. I'm just going to sign up for Game Pass and play a bunch of games through Game Pass, you know? So I'm supporting Xbox's service. You know, I'm going to be jumping into that in supporting what they're doing there because they're offering a good service for one, but two, I'm going to be contributing to that future we were just talking about, that potential future where gaming gets hurt by that. So that part of that's on me. But at the same time, me as an individual, I don't really give a shit because I want the best deal for me. So it's like there's like a give and take there. I don't necessarily think going down like all the way down one side of the pendulum or the other is really the answer. Like being fully consumer focused where all you care about is the best deal is not necessarily the best approach, but also the other side of it is buying every game that you want at full price. That's not necessarily the best approach either. And obviously individuals have their own financial constraints that they have to deal with, you know, deal with whatever you have to deal with individually, of course. But these things all kind of coalesce into the environment we're in right now. And that to me is the hard part as a consumer, right? I made this argument a few times on this podcast about Mass Effect, right? We all complain about Mass Effect 3's ending. You know, there was a huge bunch of issues with that and all that. And then that ended up more than likely affecting Andromeda sales when it came out, despite that game also not being great. But the thing about it, like for me, is like, how do you know you like a game before you buy it? There's no way to know that unless you get a demo. There's literally no way. It doesn't matter what series it's in. People make assumptions all the time that they're going to like a game. The best we can do as consumers is make an informed decision based off of any marketing material that has been released, you know, for the game. Gameplay trailers, regular trailers, articles that have been written, things like that, interviews that have been given with the development team. That's the best way we can be informed and make informed decisions on whether we want a game or not and whether it fits our tastes. And that's the scary part about video games because there's a more extreme financial investment with games than there are with books, movies, and television shows. In the sense that it's several times larger in terms of price magnitude compared to those mediums. Now you are getting more bang for your buck in terms of total time you're getting out of that entertainment, you know, for the most part. Games are much like there's much more you get more hours out of that, generally speaking, for most games than you would out of an equivalent movie, you
Yeah.
know, or a television show or even a book. Books are probably the closest, um but given that though, it's also a way bigger risk because how many games have you purchased over the course of your life, Montreal, that you were like convinced you were gonna love, and then you start playing it, dude, and you're like, "Fuck, this game's ass, dude," and you regret that purchase all of a sudden, you know, and that it creates like this like experience that you start building up of what your tastes are and what you've seen with good games and bad games, you know, over the years, and eventually you get to a point where you become very discerning on what you want and what you like and whether you're willing to pay. That creates your like valuation within your head of what you consider valuable in a game and what you're willing to spend, right? Like Monster Hunter to us is a $60 game. We're willing to spend that. I'd spend 70, of course, too, on the new consoles. But Rise, though, is got to inform us on the next game, right? You think so, right? Maybe I don't know. I might not jump into the next Monster Hunter right away. And I told you before Rise came out, the only reason I'm even playing this fucking game right now is because our friends are into it, you know, and I
Yeah.
want to play with everybody.
Yep.
That's the only reason. And that's the value to me, is that I don't think Monster Hunter is valuable until the G rank ultimate version comes out, you know? And I the only reason it has more value right now is because I have a unique situation for me that I have friends that are playing it. So that made me
Well,
buy it
I think
earlier
the
than I
problem
would.
with
But
us, with gamers in general,
Mhm.
um, I don't really know any other series that or any other form of entertainment, maybe sports,
Yeah.
takes it to this extreme where we are such fans of particular IPs,
Mm-hmm.
companies, whereas we feel like we have a stake in them.
Yeah.
Um,
True. True. Yeah.
And I feel like that really has a foothold on how we purchase things mentally. I'm not a fucking
Hmm.
psychologist, so I don't fucking know.
Absolutely, dude.
But
Yeah.
it does have some kind of mental effect on us. So when a game is bad,
Yeah.
we take it really personal because whether it be like for instance, like for me, for example, I grew up playing Sonic. Sonic was my first video game I ever played on the Sega Genesis. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
So I take it so personal when someone says Sonic is trash, or when they
He
release
is
a.
trash so much. Oh,
Oh my god,
just
here you
accept
go,
reality,
here
bro.
you
Just
go.
accept reality. No, no, but you're making a great point. Continue.
Yeah, so like when or he has a bad game or whatever the case, in which he
Yeah.
has several bad games. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. Like, yeah, the earnest is on us, but then at the same time, I don't want to give us that responsibility because we have been proven not to handle that responsibility well. Mass Effect 3 was, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a really great example.
Yeah.
Even Last of Us 2, people sending fucking death threats to the company and shit like that over Abby. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to navigate this. Video games is very complicated compared to other mediums of movies and things of that, like movies and books and stuff. I even
Hmm.
say books to the extent too is almost there to where like if JFK or J I say JFK J.K. Rowling wrote a book that was really fucking stupid for Harry Potter, people would be like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" Or fucking Game of Thrones. People are like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck is this?" Like, so it is amplified, but it isn't across all mediums, I guess, talking it out.
No,
But
but gaming is unique,
I was just
man.
about to say that
You're not wrong about that.
it's amplified in gaming, like to
Yeah.
an obnoxious degree. And I don't want to put that stigma on us, but I mean, we gotta call a spade a spade. It's because a lot of us are shut-ins. I wouldn't say 90% of us are shut-ins, like maybe 30 to 40% of the consumer
No, but
base is.
we have tendencies because okay, this isn't like a negative. We're not framing this as a negative.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, I don't think that's what Montreal's getting at. I think the point is though the time investment I was talking about with video games is way higher than it is with movies, television, books. You can diversify with those hobbies a lot better into other hobbies than you can with video games. Video games is a very all-consuming hobby. Like if you play games, you fucking play games. Like that is your primary hobby, you know? Like it takes most of your free time, you know. Obviously you have other things that you might be interested in, you have a family, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you know, you still have other things you do, but like it's something though, like I don't have time for a lot of those other hobbies. Like television's really the only other one that I can really fit in sports, you know, during football season. But movies, I don't watch movies. Books, I don't read enough books. I wish I read more books. I just don't have time to read books because I want to play video games to a degree that's fulfilling to me, and I don't have enough time to fulfill that desire and also read books. You know, it's like, so I get what you're saying about that, and that creates this environment where we're really attached to these IPs, and as a result, we start getting attached to companies, which is where I think the problem is for gamers. Is that attachment to companies makes no sense. You should not be attached to a corporation, and I get it. We care about Mass Effect. Like let's take Mass Effect as an example because this is always the one I use. Right? Is that yeah, we care about Mass Effect. We want more Mass Effect games. So inherently, we go pre-order the next Mass Effect game. When they actually put this new Mass Effect they're working on up for pre-order, tons of people are going to fucking pre-order it. But this is why we tell you not to pre-order games because Mass Effect Andromeda happens. You know, that's not a great Mass Effect game. It's not. Like, and we shouldn't reward them for making that game, and we as consumers, as gamers, shouldn't buy that game just because we want to see another Mass Effect game. Like it's kind of backwards. Like it doesn't really make sense. That doesn't make sense. That logic doesn't make sense. I'm gonna buy a bad product because I want to see more of that product in the future, even though it might be just as bad as the bad product I bought. You know, there's no like guarantee that they're gonna learn their lesson and make a better game next time. You know, so I it's hard because I care about the industry. I care about the health of the industry. And it's like, you're right. In an individual basis, I want specific, like Xenoblade, right? I want more Xenoblade Chronicles games. So I'm going to buy Xenoblade Chronicles. But that doesn't mean like I'm going to give them a pass when they make a bad Xenoblade Chronicles game. God forbid. I doubt that'll happen, but it's possible, you know? But I think that's the thing we have to be honest with ourselves about, is that there's way too many people in the industry. Influencers are also guilty of this as well. Is that you start supporting things and you lose sight of the fact that it's a transactional market, that we're buying a product. Video games are products. Like, they're selling us something. Like, we're getting something and they're selling it to us, and it's an experience we're getting in return, and it can be good or bad, and that doesn't mean you have to accept it when it's bad. Like, you can complain about that. You can say that's not good. You can tell the company. Unfortunately, sometimes that results in something like Days Gone 2 not getting greenlit, but that's not our fault as gamers necessarily. John Garvin putting the onus on consumers isn't necessarily the right approach. Sony, there were some things with that game that went wrong in terms of the initial marketing of it. The review copies that went out weren't patched. The game ran like shit, so that probably hurt its scores. But Sony, that's an internal thing with Sony that they need to kind of come to grips with. That's not something we as consumers could have affected. I guess if we had bought more copies of Days Gone, we could have, but it's like a cause and effect, though. If they hadn't fucked up the initial marketing of the game and the review copies that they sent out, the game might have sold better because it might have gotten better reviews, So it's like, there is kind of there's a causational relationship there that isn't necessarily all on the consumer, So I don't know. This is a really complicated discussion. We just completely went off fucking course, by the way. Here we've gone way into the wilderness, but I've enjoyed this conversation a lot. But it's an interesting question to posit, though, because I do think we do. I agree with you ultimately that we do have some responsibility. How much we have is questionable, but I think that's the part that I want to see improvement on, is the companies and us as consumers talking more. That, I think that needs to happen.
It was getting to a certain point where we were talking, and then around the Gamergate situation happened, and then that's when communication with the companies and the consumers stopped, and now we're getting to a better place where the consumers are positively interacting with the companies. So I think it is going to get better. We just have to be more positive in the way we give feedback, negative feedback.
Respectful.
Yeah, we have to be more respectful. That's the good word. That's the word I'm looking for. Respectful in the way we give feedback to the developers and the way we talk to these companies and things of that nature. And not only speak with your wallets, but speak, respectfully to other people.
Literally speak.
Yeah, just speak.
Yeah, literally speak.
But don't speak to where you're sending cupcakes and death threats to people because you don't like the fucking ending of a game. So it's
that's not helpful.
That it
that's
isn't
not good feedback.
So
also, but on the other side of the spectrum, unabashed praise is also really not very helpful.
Yeah.
Be critical. Look at the game. Yes, you can love it. It can be your favorite game of all fucking time. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is one of my favorite games ever. Are there things they could have done better with it? Fuck yeah. Tell them that. Be critical of the game, though. Still. So that's, I guess, ultimately all we're saying. Montreal, that was a great discussion. I really enjoyed that. But we got one more story to get through, and we got to get through some questions. So we do need to move on here. So let's do that. We got March MPD numbers that came out last week. And, they're big, as usual. They're continuing to grow. Total video game sales for the month of March 2021, $5.608 billion fucking dollars. Billion dollars. That is up from last year, $4.762 billion. And this was the big month, okay? This was the beginning of COVID last year. This was the big month. And April's going to be another marker for sure to see if the growth continues. 18% increase in total video game sales for the industry. That is fucking huge, man. The industry is growing rapidly right now in a way that I don't think it ever has before. So we'll see if this growth can continue. But continuing on, video game hardware sales, 680 million versus 463 last year. 47% increase. That's, of course, no surprise. We got 2 new consoles that everybody wants. And then video game content. This is physical and digital full game, DLC, microtransactions, subscriptions, spending across all of our platforms. 4.628 billion versus 4.062 billion last year. That's a 14% increase. And then video game accessories, $300 million this year versus $238 million last year. That is a 26% increase. So increases across the board. Year to date sales, $14.92 billion versus $11.48 billion last year. 30% change. That's crazy. Top 20 best selling games for the month in the US. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, number 1. Monster Hunter Rise, number 2. Outriders, number 3. Super Mario 3D World, number 4. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, number 5. Mario Kart 8, number 6. Oh my god. Assassin's Creed Valhalla sticking in its same spot for 2 months in a row, number 7. Animal Crossing New Horizons, number 8, even a year after it came out. Super Mario 3D All-Stars, number 9. Fuck me, I'm part of the problem. Minecraft at number 10. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, number 11. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 12. Pokemon Sword and Shield at 13. They combine the two games together, I guess, at this point. Mortal Kombat 11, 14. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. 15. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 16. Madden NFL 21 at 17. NBA 2K21 at 18. Super Mario Party at number 19. We should talk about that real quick in a second. Or I guess we will here in a second. FIFA 21 at 20. Montrell, thoughts overall on the industry sales and then that list of top 20 games?
Very fucking Nintendo centric. Nintendo is fucking killing it right now.
As usual, they're always here.
I just remember, it's so weird though, because I just remember at one point they were on the verge of like bankruptcy and shit. Like it was really bad for them at one point. This is crazy to me. Seeing these numbers for Nintendo is fucking crazy. Like they're doing almost as good as Call of Duty. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Like that, I'm sorry, that's so insane to me. Like that's crazy. So I don't.
Yeah, I mean half the games on this list are Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
every month, dude. Yeah.
So I don't know what to say about it, but Nintendo is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I think they've been flying under the radar in a lot of things, and I guess we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But yeah, they're definitely we definitely need to keep an eye on them because they may become, in my opinion, they're almost EA level, like as far as what they're doing, their business practices.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, financially speaking, they have not been mightier than this since the Wii. And they may eclipse that very soon. I mean, they're rapidly approaching Wii sales numbers with the Switch. So I'm sure it'll be reported on when it happens. But last time the numbers were revealed, I think they were around close to 80 million sold Switches. And that's pretty crazy in 4 years. That's 20 million a year, dude. Like that's an insane number of consoles that they're selling. So, they're killing it. They've made a device that people want, and the games on it I think have been of debatable quality at times, but they've also had some really, really great games, and they do have some key third-party support that's big, like Monster Hunter is a big one for sure, and they've kept that up as well, so they've done a good job there. One game I want to call out on this list though is Outriders, dude, at 3. That's even with it being on Game Pass on Xbox at launch. They're still number 3 on the list of sales for the US. That's pretty impressive, dude. So this game's really taken off, and I think I'm actually gonna fucking check it out on Game Pass whenever I get my Xbox set up. And I actually subscribe finally. I think I'm gonna give this game a look potentially and see what it's all about. So that's an interesting one. Otherwise, this list it's a lot of the same shit we see every month. There's really not much on here. There's only 2 new games on here, Monster Hunter and Outriders, dude, for the month. So, it's that's the industry right now. I guess it kind of is what it is. Call of Duty at the top as per usual. Any other thoughts on that, Montreal, before we move on?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay, so Mario Party made 19th. It jumped up to 19th slot. Super Mario Party on the Switch jumped up to the 19th slot this month. And it's funny because it's coincidental, of course. Has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about. But we got a question from our boy, Nerdy Sage, about Super Mario Party because Nintendo recently released a new update. So let me read Sage's question. This is his question. So Nintendo has updated Mario Party to have online play, which is great. But shouldn't this bit have been available at launch? Is it me, or do we just hold Nintendo to a different standard? Love to hear your opinion and love the show. Thank you, Sage. We love you too, man. Appreciate the question. Montreal, what's your answer to our friend Sage?
I absolutely think we hold them to a different standard. And no, I don't think it's fair. I think we should call them out because they have been getting away with a lot of shit.
Mhm.
But the problem is, actually, you know what? I'll rephrase that. I'll go back on that. We do call them out. They just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Um,
There's no financial ramifications.
exactly. Nintendo fanboys will still buy the console. Nintendo has a huge amount of fanboys to where it's single handedly, in my opinion, keeping them alive and away from criticism. That's my
Mhm.
personal opinion. I may be wrong in that, but I feel like when every Mario game comes out, All Stars, hell, even I bought All Stars. I'm not even a Super Mario fan like that. So it's like,
I did too.
um, and
Yeah.
it's like, so when we buy these games, because they're, like I said in my earlier conversation, these are a lot of Nintendo IPs. Nintendo's notorious for this. They hold their IPs near and dear to our hearts. So
Mhm.
we will buy these games because we are running off nostalgia. And it's not like
Yeah.
the nostalgia is going to fade anytime soon because I guarantee you a 5-year-old playing Super Mario 3D Brothers right now is going to be 21 21 years from now or whatever, or 15 years from now rather, and they're going to be like, "Wow, I remember playing Mario for the first fucking time and now Mario's
Mhm.
here on the Switch 500 or
Mhm.
whatever the fuck." But it's like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but it's like that's their bread and butter and they're going with that bread and butter. Um we don't call them out on trying to, revive. I mean, we do call them out on trying to revive stuff, but they're literally in the branch now where they're like, if it's not making money, we're not doing it. Like they won't make another F-Zero game because they just don't see a market for it. So um, unfortunately, the industry does hold them to a different standard. To get back to your question, uh, in my opinion, and we need to get away from that standard. We need to hold them accountable like we do EA, like we did PlayStation last fucking week or 2 weeks ago, rather. Like we did Xbox last generation, where we had them change their whole
Mhm.
fucking mantra on what they were doing. So,
Mhm.
um, I just think we give them a pass because the Wii U was so bad. That's what I think, and we want them to
Mhm.
be
Yeah, well, we were
successful.
rooting for them coming into this generation, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we all were because there was, if you remember. So to answer your question, Sage, the answer is yes. We do hold them to a different standard. These features that were added to Mario Party, which was online play, for Mario Party, should have been available at launch. And to be honest with you, I can't believe this game continues to sell despite the fact that it didn't have online play at launch. Because who the fuck are you playing with? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Like what the fuck? You can't even play the goddamn game with anybody because you shouldn't be going over their house. Like, what the fuck? Like, how is this game selling? I don't understand. So, I guess it has Mario on the fucking cover, so that's all that matters. I guess
Pretty
I don't
much,
know.
man. Pretty much.
But to Montrell's point, we hold them to a different standard. The industry, the people who have say within the industry, the influencers, the reviewers, they absolutely hold Nintendo to a different standard. There is a Nintendo bump, as I've heard it called before, that definitely happens with review scores. Their game is commonly get higher review scores and get raved about. Breath of the Wild was raved about when it came out. That game is not that fucking good. Super Mario Odyssey was fucking raved about when it came out. That game is trash. It's a terrible 3D Mario game. I do not like it very much. And that game was fucking raved about when it came out. So yes, their games are super sincerely overhyped. Always. Like to be honest with you, the Switch's library, in my opinion, isn't that great. It's pretty good, but most of the games on there, like, there's nothing on the Switch that I would say is like literally like unmissable. Like you as a gamer can't exist if you didn't play these games on the Switch. There's really nothing like that on there, and I'm
I was
including things like Xenoblade
I was
Chronicles
about to say
2
I
on there
consider
too.
Xenoblade one of those games, but hey, I mean
I don't.
you're being unbiased, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and no, and to be honest with you, Montreal, that's the thing. We hold them to account. We do, me and you. This podcast does. And I know many fans out there of various games and whatnot do hold them to account as well. I think it's just that the narrative is always spun in such a way that it's like Nintendo friendly. And no one really calls out their bad behavior with microtransactions or DLC, or when they're fucking shutting down fan games, or taking people to court for fucking wanting a refund. It's like, we don't talk about this stuff. The industry doesn't talk about that shit, and it does get on my nerves, dude. It really
Yeah,
does.
I
That's why we
forgot.
bring it up on this
I
show.
completely forgot about like the courts and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
they're going after their fans and everything like that.
yeah,
It's I think it's unjustified because they don't
mm-hmm.
understand how much they do. I'm sorry. They 100% understand how much the fans love their shit. They just do not give a fuck. Like they
Yeah,
don't. They know it because they profit off of it. That's how I know
mm-hmm.
they know. That Mario
Yeah,
3D All-Stars was a clear example of we know, guys, how much you love our products, how much you guys
yeah,
have been making Mario 64 ROM mods with like HD Mario graphics and shit like that. To where the
mm-hmm.
1.1 person remade the entire fucking 64 Mario 64 in HD and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Remodeled Mario and everything. They know this shit. And they profited off of it because they released this content or that game within a 6-month time span. You got 6 months to buy
Mm-hmm.
it. If you don't buy it, it ain't coming in. It's the Disney Vault, boys. Close them up.
Yep.
So I think, like I said a couple months ago, I think Nintendo has finally realized that they are the Disney of video games, and they're going to
Yeah.
capitalize off of it. From a
Yeah.
business perspective, I'm not mad at them. From a game perspective, they fucking suck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hold a lot of their decisions in contempt because they clearly don't like me, and it's the feelings mutual. Nintendo. That's all I'm gonna say. So thank you for the question, Sage. We love it. Also, we got 2 other questions from Dat Dude. Montreal mentioned him earlier in the episode. These are really good questions as well. I'm really looking forward to answering them. So the first one is, what game you played in your childhood that you would like to see be brought to modern times, Montreal?
Come back to me on this one. I had a game that it just slipped out my head. Come
Okay.
back to me on this one.
I actually have 2 games, so I'll give you a little bit of time here. I have 2 games. I'm going to give you a double buy one get one free on this question. I was trying to think of games during the week when I initially saw this question, and I really started getting excited because I was thinking about old games, But I was trying to think of games that aren't either A, haven't been remastered, or B, aren't being remade or haven't been remade. So they need to be something that hasn't been touched, so it's kind of, you're looking at kind of obscure games
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and it also needs to be something that kind of doesn't hold up, nowadays. Is So there's 2 games I thought of, and the first one, no, honestly, both of these, no one's gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about with either one of them, probably, but they're both 2 games near and dear to me.
Oh my
The
god.
first one's
Just
kind of
say
a guilty pleasure.
it.
What?
I said say
What?
it. Just say it.
Yeah. You're really anticipating this, Montreal.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to hook them in, man. I'm trying to hook them in. I'm doing that thing, like I'm hooking them in. I want them to know. Okay, let me say the fucking game. Aiden Chronicles is the name of the first one. This game is what I would call, this is a guilty pleasure game. This is a really, it's a kind of a shitty N64 game. It's literally one of the last N64 games that ever came out.
I've
Um,
actually played this fucking game. Holy shit.
You have played this game.
Yeah, it is.
So this game though, the funny part about this game is that it's kind of a CRPG on a console. And it's a really ambitious game that did some things that are actually really cool. It's just they did it in the wrong environment. Like, the N64 was not the place to make this game. I wish they had made it on PC because I actually think they would have made a really good game. But unfortunately, they were constrained by hardware constraints, the cartridge, and all that stuff on N64. And I would love to see somebody take this game and remake it with an actual real vision, and like actually be able to do everything they wanted to do technologically. Because it's an RPG that's pretty deep as an RPG. But the game runs like shit. It looks like shit. And the music there's barely any music in the game because they couldn't fit it on the cartridge. Like, the game was so large that they like didn't have room for audio. So there's like barely any audio in the game. But to be honest with you though, the game's fucking fun as shit. The actual RPG side of it is really cool. The equipment, the party you have, there's some really cool, the story's like not great, I wouldn't say, but I've never beaten it, so I don't know how like good it actually gets. But it is an interesting game in a game world as well. So that's one I'd love to see. And then the other one is called Cyberstorm, and this is an old series that was made by I think Sierra back in the day. They don't exist anymore, but this is a tactical strategy game kind of in the vein of Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, but it's more. So basically, the premise of the game is that you are the leader of a mercenary outfit in the future, and your soldiers pilot these mechs basically. And the game is you're a mercenary outfit. You have a couple mechs to start with. You start doing some basic missions, and then eventually you buy more mechs. You get pilots, and the pilots aren't actually people, by the way. They're like these like bioengineered humans that are specifically designed to pilot these mechs. So it's kind of a weird universe. But the whole point of the game, though, is to do missions, get money, buy new mechs, get more pilots, build a full squad outfit. And that's really the game. That's like the crux of the game. It gets more complex from there with the different types of mechs that you get to unlock and stuff, and they have different weapons. You can fully customize the mechs though. Like they all have different parts on them, like leg pieces, torso pieces, and those pieces though can hold other parts. So you'll have different weapons that you can add onto each part of the body. Like the torso might have 4 rocket slots, and you can have different types of rockets, or you can replace those with machine guns or something like that. The game's really fucking cool and really deep. There were 2 of them. There was Cyberstorm 1 and 2. 2 was Corporate Wars. They're both really fun games in different ways. I would love to see this series return in some way in the future. It's never going to happen, but I would love to see it. So those are my 2. Montreal, did you have time to figure out yours
Oh
while
yeah.
I was talking?
Yep.
Okay.
So the first one is me and you already talked about this before. It's going to be Bait Katos. I think that game deserves some kind of
Yeah, that
remake.
was one of the ones I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say it though.
Uh,
I do think this game kind of holds up personally, but it's a good pick.
yeah, I think it's one of those games I want to see remade. I want a newer generation to experience it, see what Monolith Soft was doing back in the day and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just really love that fucking game. So my second one is it's gonna be a toss up between 2 games. Obviously, I want them to remake Chrono Trigger. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want a full remake of that game because I think that game will fit really well into where the current rate of or the
Yep.
current age of where our JRPGs are at.
So you're talking like Final Fantasy VII remake style,
Either that or like
or
either because the combat was actually live real time. So
it was ATB? Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
that's another game I want them to eventually
Mm-hmm.
remake. Another game, it's kind of a obscure game. Is fuck, I just forgot it. Oh, well, this one I just thought about. This one is Jade Empire, by
Mm-hmm.
BioWare.
Which is
A lot of people slept on this
KOTOR's
game.
cousin.
Yeah, a lot of people slept on this game, and it was very fucking fun. I don't know why a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people slept on this game, but if anyone has like an Xbox One or something, I think it's actually available on the market. You can go back and play it. Still actually holds up to this day. The combat is actually better than KOTOR's because it's based off
Mm-hmm.
kung fu and different martial arts and stuff like that. And the story is really fucking good too. I would like to see either some kind of remake or remaster of that game. Even though it is available now, I still want it. I still want it to be up to snuff to today.
Mm-hmm.
I just have so many video games in my brain that sometimes my brain just shuts off. Uh,
No, I know what you mean.
yes.
Yeah.
Another game I want to be remade is Shinobi. That was a ninja game that Sega used to make a lot, and then they stopped making
Mm-hmm.
them. The last one it was called Nightshade, which is Nightshade 2. First it was called Shinobi on the Genesis, and then it was called Shinobi here in America, and then it was called Nightshade in Japan, and then they made Nightshade 2, and then they stopped making them. And I don't know why. They stopped making them on the PS2. And I would love Platinum to get their hands on that game. And because the mechanics of that game was so cool. It was very anime where you would have multiple enemies on the screen and everything. You can do combos, but the combo system wasn't super good like that. It was more about one-shotting people. So you would like
Mhm.
kill your first person, and then once their HP is depleted, you would slice through them, and they'll stand in the pose like they just got sliced, like an anime, right? And you can go and do other
Mhm.
people like that. The more people you get like that, the easier it is to one shot them. So you can get up to like maybe 10 or 15 enemies to be fucking one shotted. So then once you finish the combo string, everyone will freeze, and then the camera would do like the most cinematic camera, and then you'll turn your sword he'll say some corny stuff like your fate has ended, and he'd be like, ding, and then everyone like, oh, and they'll break it into half and stuff like that. And then the original
Yeah.
Shinobi was more so akin to like on the Genesis, it wasn't like that. They actually changed the gameplay on completely on the
Mhm.
PS2. On the Genesis, it was more akin to like fucking what's the other ninja game like um right Ninja Gaiden or
Ninja Gaiden,
Ninja
yeah.
Gaiden or what's the other game that Capcom made? Strider. It was Strider.
Mhm.
It was more akin um, to that style of gameplay where it's side scrolling. You have kunai and swords and stuff like that, and it's a side scrolling game. And they didn't really have that mechanic that I just described. But the 3D platform or the 3D version, like character combat action title version of it, did have that, and I fucking loved it. And Sega just never went back to it ever again. They don't have any remakes of it. They don't have any remasters of it. This game is stuck. You can buy it on the PS3 market. It's stuck there because it's a PS2 game, so you
Mhm.
can't play it anywhere besides like ROMs or some shit like that. So I would love that game to come back.
All right. Montreal. He asked for one
I
game.
know.
We
I'm
gave him
sorry. I
six.
gave him six.
One game. He wanted one game apiece. We gave him
I
six
know, man.
between us.
I
So
know.
I hope we answered your question, that dude. Second question he asked though. This is an even better question. Do you enjoy gaming more now as an adult or as a kid? Explain your reasoning for your answer. Montreal, you want to go first? You want me to take this one?
I can go first. I
Okay.
enjoy gaming now. Okay, this is a very complicated question. It's
Yeah.
because I enjoy gaming now as an adult. Because I understand the games more. I can
Hmm.
understand it. I can obviously fucking read, so that's a plus. When you're
Yeah.
5 years old trying to play RPGs and you
Yeah.
can't fucking read, your reading level is a first grader. You're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So
Hmm.
that's a big help. Uh, Now the downside of playing as an adult is time. Like I just don't have time to play all these beautiful games. Uh,
Hmm.
Whereas as a kid, that was the upside. I can play Sonic 3 to its completion 5 billion times, and I understand every crux of that fucking game. Like you can ask me anything
Hmm.
about that fucking game. That Streets of Rage 2, fucking Street Fighter, Power Stone, all these games. I can tell you the ins and outs of them. One game is Digimon World 1. Like I put it had a timer where the timer fucking cracked. Like it fucking glitched out because I put so much time into that game. It's stuck at
Hmm.
99.99. So
Yeah.
I put so much time into that game that the game cracked uh as a kid. And I love those games. Uh so as a kid, I more enjoy games as an adult, but as a kid I wish I had time. But as an adult, I wish I had time that I had as a kid. And then I wish I had that comprehension that I had as a kid as an adult. So I
Mm.
guess if I had to choose, still an adult because I can still buy my own video games and I don't have to worry about
Mm.
that. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
my answer.
Yeah, for me, this is actually pretty simple for me. The answer is as a kid, in my childhood, because I, I think nothing will ever, for me. This is a personal thing. This is going to be different for everybody. I don't think anything will ever be able to match the just pure wonder of learning about video games when you're a child. Like everything feels new to you, back then. And we grew up, I think, in the perfect era too, man, where like, the Super NES was kind of the first console we really had a chance to play because that was the contemporary one when we were of age to like really start playing. And then the N64 and then, GameCube and PS2 and all that. And we kind of grew up through the 3D evolution as well. And I think there was just a wonder where like there were so many games to play. Even back then, there weren't nearly as many as there are now, but there still felt like there were so many to play. And to be honest with you, I feel like there was a lot more unique ideas happening back then. as well.
That's
I
a good
felt like
point.
gaming's I felt like as a kid, gaming's potential was limitless, and learning each genre too was also a new thing, the new experience, right? Like, I tried every genre imaginable when I was a kid: puzzle games, action RPGs, RTS games, tactical strategy games, regular JRPGs, CRPGs, racing games, fighting games. I played them all, dude,
Yep.
because I wanted to experience all of them and see what I liked. And there's just a particular wonder to that I remember as a kid that was just everything felt so fun. Even if you were playing a shitty game, it still just felt fun because you hadn't played anything like it before. Like, and that that feeling can't be replicated by games now. It's just so rare for me. I feel like at this point it's maybe once or twice a year where I'm playing a game that is just that wonderful, that like kind of inflicts me with that feeling of wonder that I had as a kid. Like Persona 5 Royal, that was a good example. That's a good example of one. Like where that game was a pure joyride. Ghost of Tsushima last year, that game
Yeah.
fucking pure
Wow.
fucking joyride
Yeah.
for me. But those, I mean, it's like 6 months apart that I played those games. And it's like between that, I don't even remember like half the shit I played. And even a game like Neo 2, as much as I praise it a ton, it's not afflicting me with like a sense of wonder. I just really enjoy the mechanical act of playing that game.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable. But that like feeling as a kid of discovery is just, it was such a wonderful time, because you'd find out about a game you'd never heard about, you know and you're like, my brother for instance would be playing something and it looks so fucking cool, dude. And I'm like, oh my god, what is that game? And he'd tell me all about it, and then when he was done with it, I'd play it next, and it was such a great way to like learn about games, that like word of mouth. Whereas now it's like everything about every game is known. Like I can look up any info about anything, whereas back in the day there was like, it was just like, we were all learning together. Like even the adults were learning with us too, because they didn't this shit wasn't on the internet either back then.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
I don't know, man. It's just that, for me, a different time, man. It really, I'll always look back on that period fondly, from basically from the age of like 5 to maybe 15. I'd say like that. There's like a 10-year period in there that was really, really special
I will
for
say
me.
the teenage years for us, our
Yeah.
generation of gamers, was a really special one. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not to harp on this, or I know like he didn't ask all this, but that is a very specific
Yeah.
time for me, especially for online gaming. Because I know we had this conversation off mic, but like it was something special about trash talking that you can't do
Mm.
now. It was something
Hmm.
special about just talking to some random person, like you're playing Halo or SOCOM or whatever the fuck, and
Hmm.
you guys just click. You guys click, and then you guys become friends, and then maybe years
Hmm.
later, y'all still friends online, and it's just like that's that can't be replicated now because of all the party and privacy options, which I understand. By the way, I'm not harping on that, but it
Yeah.
was just it was such a free battleground, and
Yeah.
I liked it. Like it was, I know it was a survival of the fittest, and I got tougher skin than a lot of more other people, but it was really
Hmm.
like I loved it. Like that shit was fucking cool. I was a kid cussing people out, cussing grown people out, and then people were cussing me out. It was just fucking cool. It was fucking fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like World of Warcraft 3 for me was a period of time. I actually made some lifelong friends in that period of time, on those games, and that wouldn't happen now. It's like, so yeah, I don't know. That there's just some things that'll never be replicated from those earlier years in my life. So with video games specifically. So but that was a great question. Love that. Loved all three of those questions. So if you want a question read out on the show and have us answer it like we just did, send it to the players take 01 at gmail.com or at the players take on Twitter. Just add us and we'll answer it on the show. Just like that. So that was a great segment there. I really enjoyed that. I love that. Love that we got to do that. And Montreal, this I'm gonna be honest. This was a fucking great episode. I think. I think we had some great discussions here. We talked about a lot of shit. We actually kept it pretty tight, I'd say, too, even though we rambled a bit at points. We're at about 2 hours. Um, I like this episode a lot. So I guess we'll wrap it up though.
Yes, sir.
You got anything you want to talk about before we go?
No, I think we talked about pretty much everything.
Got it. Well, I've been monitoring the NFL draft during this whole episode, and the Bears ruined the draft by trading up and getting Justin Fields, and then the Patriots saved the draft by drafting Mac Jones after that. So I'm kind of still mad about Justin Fields going to the Bears, though. That literally there couldn't be a worse franchise for somebody like him to go to, in my opinion. So yeah, fuck the Bears.
Everyone's tweeting that right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny, man. Yeah, no, fuck that. Oh, fuck that team, dude. I'm so sad because I wanted to draft Justin Fields in my dynasty league. I was really like, I think I like him as a prospect, and yeah, I'm literally, I will never draft him now, like on the Bears. So, f that. Okay. So that's the end of the show, guys. If you like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. We'd like to grow the audience so we can get more questions like we did this week. If you'd like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montreal. It's the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNet01. The show is at the Players Take. And you can send us questions to playerstake01@gmail.com or at the Players Take on Twitter, like I said a few minutes ago. And that's it, guys. We're done for the week, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.